Hello and welcome back. I'm Joseph Hoffman, and today we're going to revisit the music theory concept of diatonic chords. But this time we're going to look at how to play diatonic chords in minor keys. Let's come to the piano to get started. First, a quick review of diatonic. Remember, diatonic means belonging to a particular key. For example, all white keys are diatonic to the key of C major. F sharp is not diatonic in the key of C because it just doesn't belong in that key. However, F sharp is diatonic in the key of G major because it's part of that G major scale. All right? Now, today, however, we're talking about minor keys. And every major key has a relative minor with the same number of sharps and flats, which means it will have the same set of diatonic pitches or keys. So C major's relative of A minor has the same diatonic family. All the white keys, A natural minor that is. You could play any white key on the piano and that key will be diatonic in A natural minor, meaning it belongs in that family of notes or pitches. Okay, now there are variants to minors, and one variant that we've learned is the harmonic minor. This is a natural minor. For harmonic, we take the seventh note, which is right here, and raise it a half step. So if we are in a harmonic minor, G is no longer diatonic. G sharp is our diatonic pitch. Okay, so if I played a C sharp, that's not diatonic in A harmonic minor. However, E is diatonic. G sharp is also diatonic in A harmonic minor. Now, when we play diatonic chords, we're simply going through every possible root position triad that's diatonic to that key. So let's come back now for a second to A natural minor. If we're going to play diatonic chords, you can see we're only going to be using white keys. We'll start with here in A minor root position. This is an A minor triad. Go ahead and play this with me. You can use your right hand or left hand. Doesn't matter. But let's name these chords out loud together. So we're going to say out loud A minor 1 chord. Say it with me. Go. A minor 1 chord. Good. Now we move up a step. And if we move every note in that chord up a step using diatonic pitches only, then we get to the 2 chord. The 2 chord in minor is diminished. How did I know that? Here's a trick for figuring out if a chord is diminished. Well, number one, you can listen to the sound of it, but you can also tell, let me try and do this. You can look and see that there are 2 keys in between these bottom 2 notes, and there's 2 keys in between these 2 notes. So happens, if that is the case, it will always be a diminished chord. That's true anywhere on the piano. For example, if I played, let's say, these 3 notes, this is also a diminished chord because I've got 2 notes in between, 2 notes in between. And you can hear that diminished sound. Pause the video and see if you can find any other diminished chords on the piano. Again, all you're doing is trying to find 3 pitches where there's 2 notes in between, 2 notes in between. Pause the video and see if you can find 2 or 3 other diminished chords, starting on any key on the piano, then press play to go on. So that was a little diminished tangent there, but let's come back to our diatonic chords. We had our 1 chord, we had our B diminished 2 chord. Let's say that together. Say it with me, go. B diminished 2 chord. And we step up again. We're always using white keys because this is A natural minor. So these are our diatonic keys. Now we're on the 3 chord. And what kind of chord is this? What's its name? Yeah, this is the C major chord. So say C major 3 chord. Can you name this one for me? If you said D minor 4 chord, you're correct. This is the E minor 5 chord. Say that with me. E minor 5 chord. Now what do you see here? If you said F major 6 chord, you're correct. And what about right here? This is the G major 7 chord. And then we're back to A minor 1 chord. Good. So remember, the only diminished chord was this 2 chord on B minor. And notice this chord isn't diminished because we've got 3 notes in between here and 2 in between there. Diminished has to have 2 in between and 2 in between. If it's 3, then 2, that makes it major. So it happens that minor is 2 and 3. Or you could just listen to the sound of it. Okay, now pause the video, and on your own, I'd like you to go through, play and name every single diatonic chord in A minor. Then press play to go on. Now, let's try the same thing using harmonic minor. So, if we're using A harmonic minor, G is kind of like an let's call it a forbidden note. It's made out of lava now, so if you touch it, okay, you want to only use G sharp. So as we're stepping up, and you're like, oh, it's time to play this G. No, you're going to play G sharp instead, because G is not diatonic anymore. It's like, pretend that note doesn't even exist. The only notes that exist in this key are these pitches, repeated over and over again, anywhere on the piano, okay? But G is now a forbidden note. Okay, so let's try this together. This starts off the same, A minor 1 chord. Say it out loud with me. B diminished 2 chord. Good, now here, be careful, we've got a forbidden note. This is, wow, this is a new kind of chord. Notice that if, I'm going to go ahead and do it. Yeah, my finger's going to sink in the lava, and I'm going to play the forbidden note and show you this is a C major chord. If you take that top note of a major chord and raise it a half step, it gives us a new kind of chord. Listen to this cool sound. That is called an augmented chord. Augmented. Try saying it. Augmented. An augmented chord has this pattern of 3 in between and 3 in between. It has this kind of spacey, interesting sound. It's a rare chord, so don't worry about it too much, but just know it's called augmented. And in minor, harmonic minor, the 3 chord is always augmented because of that sharp on the 7th note of the scale. So say C augmented 3 chord. Good, then we go to D minor 4 chord. Now as we go to the 5 chord, one more time, be careful of the forbidden note. It becomes G sharp, E major 5 chord, F major 6 chord. Watch out for the forbidden key, G sharp. Now, can you tell me, is this major, minor, diminished, or augmented? If you said diminished, you're correct. You can tell by the sound of it, or 2 in between, 2 in between. That makes a diminished chord. G sharp diminished 7 chord. That's a mouthful. Let's practice that. Say it together. G sharp diminished 7 chord. And then we've made it back to our A minor 1 chord. From our website, there's a worksheet that will guide you through all of this. It can help remind you the names of these chords. Why am I taking the time to do this exercise with all these chords? You may be wondering, how is this useful? Remember that chords are the building blocks of music. Almost all music is built on chords. If you want to be a composer, if you want to be an improviser, if you just want to be a regular old pianist that plays music, you're going to want to understand chords because all music uses these chords. It's like knowing how to spell words or knowing how to put words together into sentences. Chords are how you build letters into words and words into sentences. So take the time to master these chords and be able to name them so you'll start recognizing them in music. So now, if you need to download the worksheet from our website to help, feel free to do that, or pause the video and on your own, go through and play and name each chord in A harmonic minor. Remember that C augmented chord. that new chord that we had. Pause to go through those chords and then press play to go on. Now again, this wouldn't be worthwhile at all if we don't take these chords and make music with them. So now that you know all these possible chords in A natural and A harmonic minor, let's try a chord progression. Remember, a chord progression is just a series of chords in a repeating pattern of some kind. For example, let's try this chord progression, which is a very popular chord progression in minor keys. It goes 1, then we step down. Now, what's a step below the 1 chord? It's actually the 7 chord, right? Because remember, if we go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, then it starts over again at 1. So if we just step down, we're on the 7 chord. So it's A minor, then G major. We'll step down again to the 6 chord. Then we'll step down to the 5 harmonic minor. We're using harmonic minor to add that G sharp because the 5 chord in harmonic minor sounds really cool. Doesn't sound quite as cool, most people think, if you use the natural minor. You'll notice we use the natural minor on the 7 chord though. Here we're using the G natural. And that's okay, you can mix and match. You can actually jump between natural and harmonic minor in the same piece or song. So we're stepping down to 7 chord, natural minor 7 chord, then the 6 chord, then the harmonic minor 5 chord. Try this chord progression with me and say the chords out loud. A minor 1 chord, G minor 7 chord, F major, did I say minor? G major 7 chord, F major 6 chord, E major 5 chord. Now pause the video and practice that chord progression on your own, then press play to go on. Now let's try to add in the left hand to make this sound cool. Notice I was kind of making up some rhythms in my left hand. Let's start with something simple. Let's just go 1, 2, 3, 4. And our left hand's going to play the root of every chord. Remember, the root is just this bottom note of the triad, A, for this A minor chord. So your left hand doesn't need to shift positions like your right hand does. Just use fingers 1, 2, 3, 4 for A minor, G major, F major, E major. That's the root of each chord. 1 chord, 3, 4. Let's just play quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then E major. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause the video and try this on your own. Your right hand's playing the triads, your left hand's playing quarter notes on the root of each chord. And then press play to go on. Now, once you have a chord progression, you can play around with it using different rhythms, using different patterns. Like we can use block chords combined with some broken chord patterns. Make up your own cool rhythms. See, I'm just kind of making this up as I go, but I'm sticking with that chord progression. Now, if you're lucky enough to have a duet partner, one of you can play this chord progression over and over again while someone else improvises a melody in the key of A minor. You can use natural or harmonic. If you're using your ear carefully, you may notice that if your duet partner is on this G major chord, it may sound best to be using a natural minor, since you're using natural minor, right? That will sound better together. And then when your duet partner gets to this E major chord, it may sound better to be improvising using the harmonic minor scale. But I would say don't worry about that too much. Just if you use your ear and listen, you'll start to feel when it's right to use the natural minor scale and when it's right to use that harmonic minor with the G sharp. Again, don't stress about it. Mostly, just listen and have fun improvising. So, one person plays that chord progression over and over using different rhythms. One person has fun improvising in A minor. One other fun thing to do is try mixing up the chords in new ways and see if you can invent your own chord progression. Let me give you an example of one I invented earlier today in minor. Well, maybe I didn't invent it because I'm sure someone's done this before, but I kind of like this one chord, step down, go down to the 6 chord, and then go up to the 3 chord, then down to the 7 chord. Doesn't that sound cool? I think I've heard this in some pop song before. And then it just starts over and over again, right? So see if you mix up the chords, what chord progression can you invent that you think sounds cool? If you come up with something good, share it with me in a comment below. So this week in your practicing, I'd like you to review playing and naming all of those diatonic chords out loud, download the worksheets and get some extra review that way. Using some written time, put pencil to paper, that's a great way to reinforce these skills. And then finally, do some improvising using this chord progression, make up some rhythms, find a duet partner, and jam together. Great job learning how to play diatonic chords in the key of A minor. Happy practicing and see you next time. Hey chef, here's a good one for you. Okay, let's hear it. What would you call a singing group made up of coal diggers? I don't know. The Harmonic Miners. That was minorly funny. Oh, hey, that must be the Harmonic Miners now. Yep, and I'm supposed to be singing with them. Huh? Bye, you load 16 tons, and what do you get? Chef and those mice can really sing. Older and deeper